In the northeast of China, more precisely in Heilongjiang province, Taisu arrives. He comments on the cold weather but then begins to act strangely. He reveals that he seems to be collapsing from the sheer amount of powers he has. His companion, seeing this, quickly runs to his aid. She begs him to stop, saying it is enough, and strictly speaking, it was all his fault. However, the man screams that no, it was that guy who started it all. The young man, by the way, is quickly attacked by the hunter, who immediately cuts him, causing him to lose his left arm and leg. But the attack does not end there, as his opponent strikes him swiftly with his sword. The impact makes him explode, like a balloon of flesh. He begins regenerating immediately, but just before he finishes, the hunter strikes him in the eye. His freshly regenerated body violently crashes into a nearby building. The monster begins to recompose, but the man attacking him relentlessly delivers the multiple slashes, shredding all his flesh without resistance. Thus, after some time, Jiang lies on the ground, surrounded by remnants of his own body at Zhuguang's feet. Then, Zhuguang raises his spear to deliver a fatal blow to Jiang's head. However, the latter continues to smile despite missing half of his head. Zhuguang then summons his other weapons, which descend at great speed. This causes Jiang to be destroyed once more as a crater forms from this impact. Only an arm remains, which quickly regenerates the rest of the body. It is then that Zhuguang strikes the monster, sending him into the air. Taking advantage of the position, he places himself above him and hurls his spear, piercing Jiang and sending him to what appears to be a river. The monster begins to sink, still impaled by the spear. In the vastness of the water, he starts to run out of air, feeling a deep anguish. Until, in an instant, he remembers his mother, who asks him to smile. In his madness, to fulfill his mother's wish, Jiang smiles, losing even more of the air he no longer. However, something begins to happen. Red portals start sending what appears to be their energy toward the bone monster. This energy causes a whirlpool to form in the middle of the river, from which Jiang emerges, but completely transformed. Zhuguang watches the scene attentively, but before he can react, his head is severed in an extremely fast motion. Fortunately, the hunter reacts in time and retrieves the two separated parts, quickly reuniting them. This reveals a green liquid that seems to regenerate his wounds. Without hesitation, Zhuguang launches another attack. Though not fully regenerated, he manages to strike a blow that causes Jiang's body to explode. But he returns almost immediately, preparing a new attack, something his opponent had already anticipated. Zhuguang delivers multiple attacks to the bone monster, elevating him gird into the sides with each strike of his spear. Jiang is sent into space. In a zero-gravity environment, Jiang loses his head, which falls toward Earth. That part begins to the atmosphere, engulfed in flames, while still smiling. Zhuguang, seeing the scene, can only say and think that it is truly beautiful. At that moment, Jiang was about to strike. Meanwhile, Taisu has been captured, and Zhuguang's sister asks if he was the one eliminating her babies. After saying that, and finding out that he was the one who eliminated the living armors, the woman asks if a single hunter is going to fight against 100 million of her armors. It is at that moment when Taisu responds affirmatively and immediately attacks, buying time to free himself and get the girl accompanying him out. He says that he cannot give up, especially after having come so far, all while the armors kept pursuing them. But Taisu did not want to surrender, as his goal was to eliminate Kang Jiang. This makes the young, blue-haired man recall when he was with his friends. One of them comments that there are too many hunters in the world, and that they are now fighting among themselves. However, he then asks Taisu that if they are ever eliminated in battle, he should absorb their powers. The boy, incredulous, questions that he couldn't do it, but his friend explains that even if they die, they will live on together with their dear friend forever. They are his friends and want them always to stay together. Back in the present, he says that he could not fulfill his promise. The girl, upon hearing this, questions what he is saying while wearing a confused expression. This is because, on that day, when his friend mentioned there were many hunters fighting among themselves, she was with them. Taisu only replied that when that moment came, he would already be dead. His friend, upon hearing this, tries to say something, but the bully climbs down from the tree and, with a threatening tone, asks if there is. Back in the present, the young man mentions that he had to avenge his friends, but the girl beside him questions what is happening to him. By the way, he walked alone to the army of Lun Wei, who holds the second spot in China as the most powerful hunter. Her abilities are resurrection and the enslavement of the revived dead. Thanks to those abilities, the girl revived all her hunters, and one could say that, in a way, she is China herself. It is then that she sends all her warriors to attack Taisu. However, deep down, she felt that something was wrong with him, which became evident through the ferocity of the battle. She soon concluded that he was far beyond the SSS rank, although, upon reconsidering, she understood that he did not belong to that rank. He was beyond any human rank, showing just how imposing Taisu could be with all his power. The girl ordered her warriors to fight, but fear, although almost completely erased, was still present within them. That triggered their survival instinct, making them all flee. However, Lun Wei shouted for them to return to fight, reminding them that she was behind them. At the same time she gave this order, she activated her powers to dispel the fear, proclaiming that she would save their lives. With a new shout, she instilled some hope in them and urged them to fight. Nonetheless, Taisu was too strong and defeated them all with ease. Meanwhile, in his mind, he began to collapse more and more, complaining of the intense headache he felt. On the other hand, the woman claimed that she was Chinese and questioned if he would lose to someone like him. To which he replied, yes, cutting off of her head. That brief moment of life makes her remember her past, when someone was captured while a person proclaimed that the land now belonged to the Manhwa sect. That person was Chow Min, who asked why she was still there while she called him a bastard. Through tears, she shouted that this was the place where her family had lived for generations and that she would not leave. But just after saying that, her head was cut off. Her head fell to where her children seemed to be, who remained silent to avoid screaming in fear. Those responsible for that said it was time to leave, leaving behind the little ones who were hiding. The girl, witnessing the scene, tried to call out to her mother, but her brother asked why she was crying. He added that their parents simply lost their lives because they were. The girl looked at him and asked if he was not sad. He in turn asked why he would be, explaining that anyway, when he was stronger, he would eliminate them all. In the present, that little girl, now a grown woman, asks her brother if, just because she is weak, she is going to be asleep forever. Taisu confirms, while taking the candy out of his mouth and breaking it with a bite. Meanwhile, Jiang was already ready to strike his opponent, landing the blow perfectly. The impact breaks the walls, sending his opponent into a red portal, throwing him in there and smiling at his action.
And with that, we've reached the end of this week's chapter. If you made it all the way to the end, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this chapter in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe so our community can keep growing and we can reach more fans like you. See you in the next video. In the meantime, if you're from the near future, I'll leave you the next chapter and a comic you're sure to enjoy. Thank you for being part of this adventure.